Hey folks, it's Matt once again. Welcome back to another review, a random review of a film that a good friend of mine, Mike, OCP Communications, sent to me quite a while ago. And it's the movie 100 Feet, which this could be a better cover. In fact, I found a picture online that I'm going to use as a thumbnail, which I like that more than this. This looks like a shitty reject of an 8 Films to Die For flick, and it just doesn't do the movie justice. And then the exclusive to Movie Gallery and Hollywood Video, because, yeah, that needs to be on the fucking cover of your DVD. But I like this film. It's directed by Eric Red. He wrote it and directed it. And Eric Red, I think, has a lot of talent. He wrote the original The Hitcher, which is a classic film, fantastic movie. I don't know why the original Hitcher is not out on Blu-ray in the US. I have no idea why. That, to me, is fucking stupid. That deserves a Blu-ray release. Stat. He also directed the very underrated Body Parts with Jeff Fahey, which I reviewed a few times on this channel. That's another film that deserves a Blu-ray release. He directed the fun werewolf film Bad Moon. Again, I reviewed that on the channel. He did one called Cohen and Tate, which I had to give another watch. I haven't seen it in a long time. I remember Roy Scheider being good in it. And Eric Red is one of those guys that has a lot of talent. I think he worked on Near Dark. He wrote that film, or helped write it. I reviewed that for the Bill Paxton Marathon. That's a good movie. So Eric Red has a lot of talent, and I think this is the last thing he's directed. Which is too bad, because he's a really good director. Body Parts, Bad Moon, this movie, does a good job. And I like him as a writer, too. Again, a guy who can write the original Hitcher, and then again, Body Parts, Bad Moon. He's a good talent. And I thought this was a cool premise. Famke Janssen, who was Jean Grey in the first couple X-Men movies. She was also in Deep Rising with Treat Williams, which I think is a very underrated creature feature. Once again, I reviewed that on the channel in case anyone's interested in giving it a watch. Michael Paré is also in this. Yeah, I would say he's the villain of the film. I say it because you see him sporadically once in a blue moon, and it kind of, sort of, is from special effects, but yeah. I like Michael Paré. He was in Streets of Fire. He was in this film reviewed, underrated flick with him and Anthony Michael Hall called Into the Sun. That's a good one. This guy, Bobby Cannavale, he seems familiar. I'm not sure what else he's been in, but he did a good job here as a detective. And the premise, Famke Janssen is a woman who was being abused by her husband, who was a cop. She kills him in self-defense, and long story short, she's been released from prison, but she has one of those ankle bracelets. And she cannot get 100 feet away from her house. The problem is, her husband, the dead husband who was abusive of her, is haunting that house. So the ghost of her abusive husband is haunting her, but she can't leave, otherwise she'll go to jail. So I like that premise. A little bit like Disturbia, but again, imagine instead of looking at the guy next door, it's the person or thing inside your own home. I thought that was a cool premise. So I really like the setup of the story. I thought Famke Janssen did an excellent job. She was a strong woman, but she wasn't all the time macho. She was still a human being. And when people tell me about, oh, strong women, this is a good character. She did a really great job displaying emotions. There were times where the camera's on her and she's just pulling tears out. Like real, not make-believe, not fake tears, like real tears. She did a bang-up job in this. She's the MVP of the film. And I thought it had some really good lighting, which gave us some atmosphere. Some scenes are lit by candlelight. There's one sequence where the cops arrive and the whole room has this flashing red light to it. Even during the day, it didn't look artificial to me. It looked like real film. Like it looked like a real movie. And in fact, if it wasn't for some of the iffy effects on the ghost itself that you mainly see at the ending, I could see this as a movie that could have gone to theaters. I really could, instead of direct-to-video. And this is actually released by Grand Illusions Entertainment, which I've never heard of before. So you have that set up, and goes at a good enough pace. She's taken to her place. Bobby Cannavale, for most of the film, treats her like shit because Michael Paré was his partner, cop partner, and he thinks that she did it, or, well, I mean, that she did kill her husband, but it was in self-defense, but he still takes issue with it. And then later on in the film, he goes, I found the police reports that you put in when he was abusing you. I'm sorry that I ignored it, and I promise I'll protect you. Just later on, he thinks that she's covering for someone who, you didn't kill him, someone else killed him, even though she did, but of course, he's not going to believe that there's a ghost here. But I'm not going to go too in-depth, because I think people should check it out. I think it's worth a look for a film that went direct to video. It's a good, simple ghost story. Did not have a huge budget, done on a very small budget. For the most part, a lot of stuff is done practical, which I appreciate. Well directed. So at the end, there's a lot of fire being used, and it's all practical fire and fireballs, and it's not CGI fire, which I appreciate that. Again, she's taken to her place. The partner of her husband, the cop, he treats her like shit. John Fallon, the guy who ran the Arrow in the Head website, he actually has an appearance here. He's definitely a New Yorker. He has a sort of accent. Like, what the fuck you talking about? Like, that sort of accent. And I thought he was really good in the small role. He's the guy who gives her the ankle bracelet on. I thought he was good. Be nice to see him in more movies. And I like that they, if you pay close attention, they do deal with, well, how the hell can someone stay in this house for, I think it was a year, and they don't go in depth in that because that's not what the movie is. But there's little mentions, for example, well, she's got to get groceries from outside, so she has to have someone deliver it. What about a job? She's calling for interviews about a phone job, about being able to work at home. So they don't ignore that. They do, one thing I didn't like, they did a cheap cat jump scare, which didn't work. What I do like is that the cat sticks around. It's not just a cat that runs around. The cat does stick around and becomes sort of her pet, so I like that bit. There's some really good lighting, some nice atmosphere. Famke Janssen really sells the film for me. Really cared for her character, and really made me go, what's going to happen next? And so there's some good physical stuff that happens. So I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to get more into spoilers. So for those who don't want it spoiled, because again, I'm trying to do a better job at that. But overall, I really like the film. My only issue is in the finale, there's some really iffy effects on the ghost of Michael Paré's ghost figure. Because they do this sort of blur effect on it, make it look fuzzy and blurry on the ghost itself. And I'm not sure if that was the right effect to use, because it looks a bit hokey to me, a bit cheap to me. That's really one of my only big issues. I mean, there's a couple nitpicks here and there, but that's really my only big issue. Other than that, the acting was solid. Famke Janssen really pulled off his lead. I love the premise. Yeah, it's a cool premise. What if this guy was abusing you, you had to kill him in self-defense, you still get punished for it, you're trapped in this house for, I mean, do you want to go to jail, or do you want to deal with a ghost? Either way sucks ass. And you really feel for this character, and then it's the ghost of the guy you killed in self-defense. Again, when a cool premise like that hooks me in, I'll forgive a lot of nitpicks and stuff, because it's rare to have a premise that really hooks me in. I'm like, yes. That, it sounds stupid, but it's a premise that, I don't want to say speaks to me, but I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. Let me see what happens next. And then I do think Eric Red is a very capable director. So I really enjoyed the film. But again, spoilers. When the shit starts going on, there's some really good physical stuff. For example, there's a scene where all these plates, in this kitchen, and everything in the kitchen just being thrown at her. And it's pretty much all real stuff just being thrown at her, plates being thrown at her, and she's trying to dodge them. She gets hurt, cut. And again, she's not a wimp. She's trying to do the best she can. She's like, you had it coming. You beat the shit out of me for all these years. And you really feel for this character. For example, there's a scene where this bitchy sister of hers comes by and treats her like shit. Or there's, during that time frame, Halloween pops up and she's in a costume and she's trying to get candy for the kids, but no one goes by her. Everyone avoids her, and you see sort of the sadness in her face because it sucks to be this person who got the shit beat out of her. She even mentioned she put in police report after police report, but his cop buddies ignored her. She was going to leave him, but then he found out and went after her with like a knife, and she didn't. So, like, you really feel sorry for Famke Janssen. That's one thing I really appreciate in a movie, is you give me a lead that I can root for and feel sorry for. And yeah, I do think this is a well-filmed flick. I don't think it looked cheap. The effect of the ghost at the end looks cheap, but... And you see the ghost once in a while, but I could deal with it because it's in little short instances. It's not heavily centered. You see brief glimpses. One person compared to sort of an oil painting come to life. So I could deal with it in short glimpses, but when you see it for much longer in the finale, it kind of disappointing. But it was one of those movies that an hour went by, and I'm like, what the fuck? An hour is already went by? I was so sucked into the story that I did not notice that an hour had gone by. So I was sucked into for this lead girl and the premise of the story. And before people go, well, that's just stupid, I would have just gone to jail. People who say that have never been to jail. If you say, well, I would have just gone to jail, fuck this. Once again, you've never been to jail. Because if I had to have a choice, I wouldn't know which one to choose either. I'd be like, you know what? I might actually want to stick with take care of the ghost before jail time. So I could believe in this character. And again, there's some really well done sequences. There's a scene where, like, she begins this friendship with this guy who gives her groceries, and he seems like a decent guy. And the actor did not do too bad of a job. He doesn't seem like an asshole. He seems like a decent guy. She gets books, has him get books for her about ghosts, and one thing says that you need to get rid of everything that the ghost has and the ghost is a part of, and that the ghost owned. And it sucks because some of the guy's clothes, Michael Paré's clothes, were downstairs in the basement. And when she goes too far in the basement, the thing beeps, and if it beeps long enough, the cops will come by and maybe arrest her. She's trying to get it, and then the light is flickering, and it's flashing lights going in and out, so you can't see nothing, and something as the beeping, and the door's closing, and she just thrown back and thrown against a wall, all done practically. Bravo to either the stunt woman or Famke herself. As she gets dragged down the stairs, there's a scene earlier on where she gets sort of pushed or made to fall down the stairs. And then you have this scene where the cop, and granted, the character's not really meant to be likable in the first half, but I thought the guy did a good job. And by the finale, I thought, it made me ease up on him. I do think this guy did a good job, acting-wise. And he's like, hey, I looked through the police reports and I saw, the reports that he had put on him. I apologize. I'm sorry I wasn't there. But, I promise I will protect you from now on. And, if you didn't kill him, if someone else did, you're hiding him because he's afraid of you, that you're afraid of him. You gotta tell me now. And of course, she tells the truth and he doesn't believe her. But really good acting, especially from Famke Janssen, just real tears coming down her face. She didn't go through this by the motions. She didn't think it was a nothing part. So I really give credit to her. There's a nice scene which, granted, she does a stupid move, but it went in a way that I didn't see coming. So I thought it was effective. The one thing she didn't get rid of was her wedding ring. She's like, maybe I'll put it down the garbage disposal. It gets stuck. So she kind of, again, it's a dumb character move, but it happens a lot of movies. Puts her hand down the garbage disposal. I thought maybe it would start when she's in it or when she's about in it, but she gets it out and she's fine. Then a hand comes out and drags her right back into the garbage disposal, her hand. And I didn't think the hand was coming up, but I liked that little, the way they did that scene. And some little stuff, for example, there's this blood on the wall that when she got back to her home, it was from when she stabbed her husband. She paints over it, but throughout the film, it keeps reappearing on the wall. Again, some nice physical stunt work. For example, when Famke Janssen being pulled by the hair right down this hallway, you can't see who's pulling her, but her hair is being pulled, and then she's being put her face right against the wall, and her face rubbed, and blood covering the wall. Just like a painful sequence. There's one moment, which I like the lighting, where she crawls through this little tunnel. It's not really a tunnel, but it's underneath the floorboards, and she finds this dirty money that the guy kept. I kind of wish that would have gone a little bit further, that money thing, but it's brought up, but it seems like nothing really comes of it. And whether maybe has some physical shenanigans happen when she's in that claustrophobic space, maybe that would have been cool. Or really the money doesn't get touched on again. She just sort of donates it to this priest, has him come by, and then the money's pretty much forgotten, so it kind of makes me go, why was that even in the movie? I mean, she doesn't use the money again. She doesn't keep the money. She doesn't. Yeah, it sort of makes me go, well, at least I don't think she kept the money. I think the priest took it for the donation. Could be wrong. But for what I remember, the money really goes nowhere. So it would have gone somewhere. At least have some supernatural shenanigans underneath the floorboards. I think that would have been cool. But I thought that was a missed opportunity. But he did some nice physical stuff. The doors close, so she can't leave, and everything is closing. These nails come up, and she dodges it. And she's like, yo, fine, come on, do it. And yet nothing happens. Now, I will admit there's one part that I kind of had to skip because, unfortunately, it's not Mike's fault. He sent this, but the mailman fucked up because it broke the damn case. So it was kind of wiggling around, so it got scratched up. Again, that's not Mike's fault because he's not going to send me a broken case. It's the mailman didn't do their job correctly, and it broke off. So this was wiggling around, and it got scuffed up. So there's a part that I had to skip. So I guess maybe she called the guy who with the groceries, and then he came by, and something happened. I will admit, I mean, I'm foggy on that, so I apologize. But the next thing is that it's daytime, and this grocery kid gets fucked up badly. I mean, this is definitely a big thing of gore, which I thought was pretty cool. Is Michael Paré's ghost comes up, and I like this idea. It kind of remind me a little bit of Hollow Man, where this blood pops up and it hits the ghost, and it covers the ghost's face as if it was, Kevin Bacon's Hollow Man, where some blood would hit him and he's covered, and you just see this blood face with no eyes. And I like that idea. And he beats the fuck out of this kid. Like, punches him in the face to the point that the bone is broken and dislocated, and you see a little bit sort of like that. So he's really fucked up. Lifts him up and crushes his head right against the ceiling. It's like, ooh, done practically. It's like, ooh, it's a wince. I appreciate the practical, that was practical and not CGI. It's like, ooh, shit. And then one thing leads to another. She's ready to be arrested by the cop. But then she gets thrown back, the cop gets thrown back, the ghost shows his true form, Michael Paré form, and the cop definitely believes her. But this is what I liked about the cop, is that immediately he goes, no, you stay away from her. You stay away from her. He's trying to protect her. You stay away from her, but he gets thrown and they both get thrown downstairs, and this fire starts, and it's in the basement. A lot of great practical effects. Some really good practical effects. I really appreciate that. And she's about ready to leave, but she goes back and helps the guy, so it shows she is a good person, helps the cop, and has a confrontation with Michael Paré. Again, the effect of the ghost is not the best. It really isn't the best. It's this... I don't know why they just didn't have Michael Paré there, like I am here, and then just put some makeup on him. Just put some makeup on him. Maybe you can make it so that there's no holes. I've seen that in other low-budget films. You didn't need to make him look fuzzy and blurry. To me, that cheapened it. It made it look a bit hokey. In fact, not even a bit. It looked hokey. The ghost effect looked hokey. It's like, that's where I'm like, okay, this is a direct-to-video film. I think the ghost could have been done better. It could have just been Michael Paré himself with some blood on his face. It didn't need to be this fuzzy shit. So that's one big problem I have with the film. And she realizes she still has her wedding ring, and she throws the ring to him. And then for some reason, it turns from this fucked up Michael Paré to the real Michael Paré, and then he explodes. I'm like, did she make the ghost explode? I mean, I'm not sure about that. It's real fireballs, and she gets out of it, and the whole building goes up in fire. I'm like, did Michael Bay direct this one scene? Like, did everybody, did Michael Bay come and says, Michael Bay, can you direct this one scene? Make the ghost explode. I mean, granted, I've never seen a ghost explode because I guess if you give a ghost the wedding ring, he explodes in fireball. I'm like, I've never seen that happen. Never seen that happen before. So I'll give it that. But I don't know. I don't know. It was different. At least it was a real fireball. But it's like, I don't know about that. But the cop, you know, he of course believes her, and he's like, hey, you know, get out of here and I'll cover for you. And he tells the police that she died in the fire so that she's not fucked with for the rest of her life. The cat didn't die, because in most films, you have a cat or a dog, they would just kill it off. Cat didn't die, and I'm a cat pussy. I love the pussy. Can't help it, I love pussy. Like many guys love pussy. So the pussy didn't die, you didn't kill the pussy. That's good. And she goes off and is on a bus to live her whatever new life she is. I guess she has money. That's why I'm wondering, like, did the money from the... she donate? Did she keep some of it? Did she... I don't know. But yeah, I like the premise of the film. I like the setup of the film. I thought it was well directed. I thought Famke Janssen was the MVP of the movie. Gave really good emotion, and she was a good character. Cool to see Michael Paré in there, even the sort of way he's in it. I thought Bobby Cannavale did a good job as the detective. I liked the little bit of gore that was thrown in there when the grocery kid realized you shouldn't try to bone the ghost's wife. You know, you don't fuck with Michael Paré even if he's a ghost, otherwise your head gets squished. I like some of the physical trappings, or the physical stuff that happens. I like that a lot of practical stuff was used. Again, except for the ghost. The nail theme was probably CGI, but that's hard to do practically. Nails coming up and shooting at someone, but I thought that looked fine. But yeah, my main problem, my one problem is the ghost looks fakey, looks blurry, and yeah. But the lighting, some decent atmosphere, good cinematography, capable cast. I like the premise. And for a film that gets like a 5.79 to be, I thought this was pretty damn good. Just a ghost story for a rainy day that you want to watch by a talented writer-director like Eric Red. I thought this was a good one. I keep doing that, but the fucking... I'll put the disc down so I can show it. I thought this was a pretty good flick. Pretty good flick. And if you're wondering, there's no features. Just a trailer. Exclusively a movie gallery and Hollywood Video. And it does say from the writer of The Hitcher. Of course, nowadays you have to go, oh, which Hitcher? The good one, the original one, not the shitty remake with Sean the Beanie Baby and a stupid scene with "I want to fuck you like an animal." 9-inch nails. Got so pissed I stuttered. 9-inch nails playing on the fucking soundtrack during a fucking chase scene in a shitty remake. Don't get me started on that remake. One of the worst fucking remakes I've seen in my life was the Hitcher remake. That's why I call it the fucking bitcher. But so, this is a good movie though. So, god damn it, I just said I was going to do that. But anyway, thanks for watching. Take care and stay tuned for another review later.